Hey everyone, and welcome to your January 2023 readings. I hope that this year is off to a really great start for you. We're going to get right into it, so I'm just going to say a couple things really quickly. If this message resonates with you, please consider giving it a like. This is a new channel I'm going to be spending a lot more time building, and it kind of helps it out, so that would be appreciated. Also, if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing as well, because I'm going to be putting out a lot more content. There's going to be full moon readings, new moon readings, plus the monthly readings and some astrology stuff on the horizon for 2023. Also, if you're not following me over on Instagram, consider following me over there, just because I hop on and do something monthly that I'm bringing back called Cards and Cocktails, which is just really fun to do. I also do random readings. I just pop on and decide that I want to do that. So if you want kind of like free quickie readings, that's a good place to find me. Last thing I'll say is if you want to book a personal reading with me, all of that information is down below. So I'll see you in the reading. Bye. Hey Leos, and welcome to your January 2023 reading. Let's get into it. All right, so we're going to be taking a look at what is coming up for you as the month progresses. Liking it already. All right, and let's take a look at the end of the month. I'm actually feeling this card here. Boom. All right, interesting cards. So we're going to take a look at these, and then we will take a look at any challenges that are actually coming up for the month for you, and any spiritual advice that you have. So please forgive the glare. I lost light pretty quickly. It's been snowing and stormy out here, so I'm depending on a bunch of different light sources in here. So, all right, let's get into it. The beginning of the month, oh my God, how beautiful. Don't we just love seeing the 10 of Cups show up in a reading? Who doesn't love to see the 10 of Cups show up in their reading? Everyone wants the 10 of Cups to show up in their reading. How Leo of a card is this as well, right? It's bright, it's shiny, it's all full of heart. You know, I'm loving it. So the 10 of Cups is basically the fulfillment of our desires, the fulfillment of our dreams. It's like, you know, the biggest dreams that we have for our life and what we really envision for ourselves, like our most prized and close to our heart kinds of dreams. Now, for some people, of course, like when the tarot was created, this would have been like cis, you know, relationships between a male and a female, and they have a couple of kids, and they've got a piece of land, and they got a house, and like that's the ideal, right? Now you take that and you apply it to however you want your life to look, whether that means that you marry your wife and you guys travel around the world and you guys are, you know, I don't know, living in Bali for part of the year or whatever it is. Or maybe that means that, you know, you and your partner are adopt a kid and like raise a family together. Whatever it looks like to you, whatever your dream is, it's like this is a time of envisioning. And I feel like for some of you, this is like, it's actually coming to fruition. You know, some of you might actually have like be pregnant with a child. You know, you might actually be adopting, you might be pregnant with a child. This might be actually coming through where you're creating your next generation to raise together, or you might have just become engaged or gotten married or whatever it is, you know. So it's just like there is just this beautiful energy of like things feeling really good and bright. Like there's this really bright outlook at the beginning of this year, and it feels awesome. It feels amazing, and I'm super stoked for you because what a great card to have, right? Sorry you guys, I'm getting over a cold, so you might notice me having to pause and drink water. Okay, hopefully my gulping water is not too loud for you guys. All right, so we come into the middle of the month and things slow down a bit, right? It's like you come into the month with like all of this energy. It's like, oh, how beautiful, and feeling really optimistic and all the different things. And then we come into the middle of the month and it's like, there's a little bit more internal energy, you know? It's interesting because this is meant to be an eclipse card. You see right there where I'm shining the light. It's the moon and the sun together, which is meant to be an eclipse card. But we could say that, you know, we are starting the beginning of the month with the full moon. So maybe after the full moon, maybe this is the time where you're feeling it, because that would be us moving into, you know, towards the middle of the month. But either way, the Eight of Cups is like something is feeling a little too heavy, right? Well, this is when emotions feel heavy. It's kind of like being weighed down by something, like water weight, right? Just like, oh, it's like, you need to kind of wring things out and lighten up and move forward, move on. And so there is this kind of like a feeling of needing to go on a journey that feels more solitary, that feels a little bit more solitary focused and more spiritual in a way, right? Like you feeling into relieving yourself of what feels weighted and going towards what feels again, we're talking about, water. So we're talking about the cups, right? So this is what feelings, what emotions, what feels more nourishing, what feels like life, what feels lighter. And this can sometimes for some people mean a solitary journey, a spiritual journey, doing like maybe even for some of you, this could be going on like an entheogen journey, right? Doing some kind of plant medicine or a mushroom, journey or something to that effect, where there's this kind of like spiritual seeking for depth, for meaning, for lightness, right? For insight that comes in the middle of the month. So that I find is really interesting, following this kind of this like pop of energy that is happening at the beginning of the month, right? Then we come into the end of the month, and what we see here is the Justice card, right? So this is really about, like people can say this is about equanimity and, weighing things out. And yes, it can be about that, but we also see that this is like with the sword being held upright like this, the swords being present is usually about, truth and staying true to ourselves and what feels like staying true to ourselves. So you may be weighing things out and trying to figure out, like, how do I create this next phase of my life? How do I create what I see ahead of me on the horizon for 2023 and do it in a way that is me staying true to myself and not losing myself in whatever vision from before or whatever heaviness came before in the middle of the month, right? This can also provide a lot of different, like a lot of clarity. For any of you that are going through legal matters or dealing with legal matters, that might be what this is about. But yeah, I would just say this is like really just coming to a place of fairness, coming to a place of equanimity, weighing things out and seeing what's equal and balanced for your life. Remember that in order to be balanced with ourselves, we have to be present, we have to be grounded, and we have to be aware, right? Anytime we're trying to balance, like if you're on a high wire, you have to be extremely present and conscious and aware in order to maintain balance, right? And so our truth, our personal truth, weighed out with all the different other aspects or people and areas of our life, that could have us have to be in a state of like being very present and very aware of our feelings, our thoughts, and what we envision going forward for the future. Now, let's get a little bit more insight into this. I feel like as we look at whatever challenge is coming up for you, this will help give us a little bit more clarity about what that might be about. So let's take a look here. Which deck am I feeling? Feeling this deck here. All right. So what do we have coming up for challenge? Again with the swords. So we have the Page of Swords showing, Page of Swords showing up here. Well, it's the Princess of Swords in this particular deck, but it's the Page of Swords. So the Page of Swords showing up, and then let's get some spiritual advice. All right. So we have 2 cards coming through for you. 3 cards coming through for you. Ooh, and they're all... I clear my decks and I shuffle my decks, you guys, before I start. And they're all major arcana. This is really interesting. Whew. This is definitely some kind of spiritual journey, some deep questioning, some questing internally and emotionally that is happening and spiritually over here. Definitely. I can see that more clearly now. Wow. Yeah, because we have the Judgment card along with the High Priestess, along with the Wheel turning, and with the Wheel of Fortune. So let's start over here with what I see is like playing into part of what's happening here with this big picture, or with the story here, which is the Princess of Swords, which is really in any other deck would be the Page of Swords, right? So it's interesting because like when the Page of Swords is in a place of like a challenge, I think that this is not having any like enough clarity about what you're really like, not really being clear about what you're thinking about the words that you need to communicate, and about your personal truth, what's true for you, maybe lacking in knowledge around what it is that you need to do a little bit more research about, have more information about. You know, we are in Mercury retrograde currently, right? And so any retrograde, not just Mercury, but it has us revisit, revise, you know, and so this is the time to pause and actually ask yourself the questions that need to be asked. Like not time to rush forward necessarily. I think this is time to do a little bit more investigation, right? And I think some of you are wanting to maybe like push past that stage and just kind of go and do. And with, you know, with Mars still being retrograde up until like a little bit past the middle of the month this month, I think that's a totally natural thing that a lot of us are going to want to feel like we want to just kind of like push and rush past things. This is not a time to push and rush past things. I think that you need to get some clarity, get to a greater vantage point, like get up on that cliff that's behind her, right? Like get up there, get to see the big picture, get a better idea of what, like survey the landscape of your life and all the different areas of your life and gather the big picture. Get some perspective is what I would say, you know, and maybe even go ask somebody that is sagacious, somebody that you trust, you know, for their counsel. And I feel like I don't always need to say this, but I'm going to say this now. Make sure that there's somebody that is ahead of where you are in terms of like success, with whether you're asking for advice around something financial, business, career, relationship related. Make sure that they've had some success in this area and it's not like somebody who is giving you advice from a place of like they've never even reached the peaks that you're trying to get to, if that makes sense. Okay, just want to say that. So then we move into your spiritual advice, and talk about some spiritual advice. We've got some big hitters that are happening here, right? We've got a call to action, right? We've got a call to, not necessarily action. I mean, I want to be cautious about using the word action when we're talking about this right now because of what we've got going on astrologically, right? But what I will say is that we have the Judgment card. The Judgment card is really a call. It's a higher calling. It's like, think about, one way to think about this is like your higher self is calling you out and saying like, hey, is this the world that you want? Is this the vision that you have for yourself? Is this what you're wanting to have in your life? Okay, cool. Well, you need to rise up. You need to rise up, and you know that you can step into the next level. You know that you can step into a higher vibration of yourself. You know that you can do this better than what you've been doing so far. You're ready for the next level. You're ready to take a step up. And you may not necessarily feel completely ready or prepared to do that, but that's part of the process of reaching the next level. Anytime we go to the next level in life, there's going to be discomfort. We won't feel completely ready. And there is a point where it makes sense to take that step and to leap. And this is a time to stand up, raise your vibration, raise your energy, answer the call. Whatever the call is, answer this call. You feel this. You're being called out, and this is a time. Now, on top of that, we have you really stepping into a place of your intuition and really trusting your instincts. This is where it's like, you know, one of the things with the High Priestess is in whatever way it makes sense for you, whether that's you getting out into nature, whether that's hiking, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, or whether it's like laying on your bed for 30 minutes for one day, like every day, and just being like, I am going to let my mind drift. I'm going to look at the ceiling. I'm going to just let myself be here and be in the silence. If you're always doing and thinking and making things in life, you don't create any space for inspiration to come through, for anything to like be brought into you, right? So inspiration needs spaciousness. It needs some kind of portal inward. It needs to be able to come in through some kind of opening. and you need to create that kind of opening. The other thing about the high priestess is that she's about, you know, being in a place between places, like a liminal space, right? Between duality. You know, you see in the background with the pillars that she stands between duality, right? And so this is yin and yang, light and dark, right? But this is all aspects of ourselves, all different polarities of ourselves. Being able to be in the center of that means that you have a strong center. Being able to go within and trust your core instincts, trust your intuition, you know, and you can't do that by leaning too far to one side or the other side, right? Like we could, I mean, I don't get into politics on my you know, videos or anything like that, but we could even say it's very like, oh, I'm all the way to the right, or I'm all the way to the left, or, you know, it's just like, whichever way that goes, it's just like you know, being all the way to either side of any position in life, right? Like, you know, it doesn't matter, any other example, right? But being in the center is a place that is going to be, I think, more wise. It's more grounded. You're more open to solutions, to possibilities, to being able to be creative about what comes through, right? And so I think that following your intuition, following your instincts is a very creative process. And there has to be this ability to sit between places and to, you know, that's also what allows for instance, like diplomacy, right? Think about conflict resolution and mediators, right? Mediators in the median space, right? They're in the middle, right? And so this is like, I feel like a lot of this energy that's coming through is just like very higher self, very, very also into the internal core of who you are. And then there's also the Wheel of Fortune, which I feel is actually very related to an aspect of the High Priestess that I don't really hear a lot of people talking about. Maybe it's just my own connection with it, but we have the, you know, yes, it is the wheel turning. Yes, it is about change happening. But the thing is that, you know, with the wheel turning, we have this like process of going into the material world and coming up again into our like higher, more spiritual senses. This is all like, there's so much symbolism in this particular card. I'm not going to really have time to really get into it. And I don't think everyone would want to geek out with me on this level. So I won't get into it. But what I will say is that as the wheel turns, the times where we have the most struggle with change as the constant in this world is when, as we know, as when we're holding tight to something, when we're holding on and we don't want to relinquish control, right? Or our perceived control. We try to like hold on to one part of the wheel and keep it from moving forward, right? And the thing is that it's going to move forward no matter what. So what is there for us to do except for to be able to, like, imagine you're like, you were facing this particular card and you're looking at it dead on. This is really just about looking it to the center and finding the center of the wheel, right? Not getting lost and spun out on like everything else in the chaos that can happen if you're just on the edge of the wheel. Like, think about if you've ever been on a merry-go-round. I know that's like a very old playground thing, but and I don't see them around much anymore, but you know, it's like you're spinning on the merry-go-round. Now, when you're in the center, you can find like centered spaces, right? Like, but when you're on the outer parts, it's like, woo, you could just fly right off, right? Same thing with like where you're focusing your attention, you find your center, finding your center, right? Find your silence, find your center, find the unbreakable parts of yourself, the unshakable parts of yourself, anchoring into which aspects of yourself are the grounded, present parts that can be with anything that comes up in our experience, right? The one of the main things that like my divorce taught me, that being a coach for relationships taught me, is that one of the biggest healing spots, one of the places that empowers us the most, that allows us to be with the changes, is to be with our emotions, is to be able to widen our capacity to hold what is here for us. What is, when I say what's here for us, like how life is showing up, what's happening, right? If it's hard and it's heartache or whatever it is, or even when it's beautiful, our ability to expand our capacity to be with, to sit with, to not run away from, to not escape, but to sit with that. There's a strength, there's a gentle strength in that, right? Because it's not an active, aggressive strength. This is like more of a gentle sitting strength. It's a grounded strength. It's our ability to be unshakable and to know that even if we are shook, right, by the things that happen in life, we have the ability to be grounded, to go inward and to find our center. And I feel like Leos, you're being called to step into a new level of this currently right now. There's some kind of spiritual, journey or something that is coming through here. And I feel like this is definitely going to be about weighing things out in the balance of like what actually fits into your life and what is staying true to yourself, right? And so you're going to need to get some perspective and get the big picture. And some part of that is going to feel challenging for you for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. So this is a like, whoo, I'm going to get up and stretch after this reading before I move on to the next one. So that's what I've got for you, Leo Sun, Leo Rising, Leo Moon. Thank you for watching. This is a collective reading. If you want a specific reading to you, you can check out the links below. Also, if this resonated with you, please just take a millisecond and give it a like. It helps me to build the channel. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. I'm going to be putting out not just monthlies, but also new moon and full moon readings and astrology things on the horizon. I also do, I'm bringing back the monthly cards and cocktails on Instagram. And I'm also just someone who tends to pop up on there and say, I feel like doing free mini readings for anyone who's online. So if you're not following me there, follow me there. All right, that's all I got for you. I don't want to make this long. I will see you on the next video. Thanks, Leo. Bye.